as a result of it being HIV positive. We also got reports of infrastructure that do not favor, especially people with disabilities. I'm going to give an example for us in Uyukwe. Again, when I went to Wagato Health Center, I asked them how they manage. You find even if I use a person who is short, without maybe other disabilities we look at, find a person struggling to raise the OPD. But then what if it comes to a person who is physically disabled? It's not something we put into context, we do not take it serious, so it is a big challenge. And finally, there came also out a challenge. Some people talked about language barrier. For example, in Uyukwe, we have a lot of mixture of tribes. So you realize the issue of languages, no interpreters, even when we go to the people with disabilities, no assistance is always provided. On the improvement that we observe, we really observe that yes, much as we have these challenges, there has been some improvement, especially with the implementation of CLM. One of the things we are observing is about time management. 2 days ago, I even received a call from the community. They were thanking us that yes, they feel the intervention of CLM, that there has been some improvement in time management. So that one is there. Another thing is about the attitude. Yes, the attitude of health workers is improving with the different meetings that have been held at the different facilities. Going to the priorities, in my opinion and observation, I want to think that the Minister of Health should prioritize addressing the issue of stockhouse, because, like I said, it's coming out very strongly, and the reasons given are really not understandable, and sometimes I want to say they don't even make sense to my clients and even the health workers themselves. So we think it's an issue that we should be prioritizing. And secondly, the issue of health workers. Yes, we have a structure, but when you compare the structure we have with the physical presence of the health workers at the facility, they are very inadequate, and we think we need to work on it. And finally, accommodation of health workers, because it is leading to a lot of issues, including most of the issues I've talked about, the long waiting times, late coming. When you talk to them, it has a big relationship with accommodation. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Team of Uyukwe, the Executive Director, and thank you so much for those pertinent issues you shared with us. For the interest of time, I would like to also welcome the Executive Director from Namayingo Community-Based Organization to respond to some of the questions during time for implementation of this dialogue. What are the communities saying about the way services are delivered? The second question, what are issues such as staff attitude? How are issues such as staff attitude, stigma, confidentiality, respectful of care affecting service utilization? Those are the two questions. Please respond.
First of all,
know, there's a district that has the biggest percentage of its mass in the water. And it borders Kenya, it has people coming from the countries like Kenya, Tanzania, and because of the waters, the fishing activity is one of the best and most common activities that happen. In addition to that, given this border business, people from different countries come and at least make a living in this business, border business. Recently, I don't know whether it is a pass, gold, I don't know whether they got it from, and put it in a mine. We are having so many people coming from different countries, different districts, converting the mining for gold extraction. So, in that context, many community members are not well aware of how we service the river, especially when the service the river are got. We have faced challenges in the way how people understand. Because for us to know that these services start from, it is a structure where these services reach to the common person. From PhD, related center 2, related center 3, to police 4, like that. But many community members don't know the role of the PhD. Many community members don't know what to expect. They don't know what to get at the related center 2, 3, like that. So they say the services generally are poor. That is the conclusion. The services, especially at the islands, the services are very difficult to reach those ends. You find very few workers accepting to be on the islands. They don't want to stay there. They feel it is very far, it is limited access to maybe places, social amenities. So some of these issues, community members are not receiving the messages of what we want to deliver properly. When we come to the issues of stigma, attitude of health workers, members agree the issues of the attitude of health workers is just improving one of these days. But it has been very poor for one time. I experienced a scenario where I was at a health center and a lady was sporting calling Musau, but the Musau was just moving past this lady without even looking at who is calling me. This is not a good attitude towards our patients. Very many have changed, they have improved, and we are seeing improvement. Then the stigma, I encountered one individual who was an HIV person. He said, well, you know, this issue of integration, how are we going to manage it? When you go there, people who are here, sometimes you feel don't express yourself because you are together with those people who are not affected by it. And then there are some volunteers, I can't call them medical workers because actually they are not trained properly. These volunteers, they are not doing us a service, good service. Some of them, one of them, I experienced a certain scenario, and somebody was saying, a certain expert client moves around and says, sometimes they even tell them, you did not come for medicine in public. So some of these issues stigmatize people. And then that goes with care, respective of care. Some of the health workers are not handling patients in a manner that deserves to be handled. Okay. I beg to end here. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Time, you've said what you observed, that one of the issues the communities are saying is poor accessibility to health services. I think also on
Before I hand over the microphone, there is the issue of the flooding. You see, we have these ambulances, but the fuel that the government gives is not enough. And it costs the patients who are in need. They can't afford the services of the ambulances. This is what we see. For example, at the island of Busoga, there is a boat. It is an ambulance boat. It is very expensive to move. When a patient needs to refer, they ask to add fuel. The fuel is not enough. So this issue should be improved. This is what some people are saying.
Thank you so much. I think the cost effectiveness of the fuel consumption of the boats, of the ambulance boats. Okay. Also, to bring more light on what Executive Director of the CBO from Namaingo has said, how issues such as staff attitude, stigma, and confidentiality and respective care is affecting service utilization. As he has said that staffs are rude and patients feel disrespected. Is that it? Okay. Some also other issues, people are more likely to disclose their symptoms early if there is respect and confidentiality within health facility settings. So another thing also, you talked about long waiting hours, is that it? And long waiting hours, okay. Then few staff also. Okay, few staffs. Thank you so much. Let us listen for the interest of time. Also, thank you so much for those pertinent issues you've shared with us. We are going to listen from the Executive Director from the CBO from Mayuge. Although there are many services, please Mayuge, Namaingo. I'm very sorry, Namaingo. Namaingo, you're done? He has finished. So we are going to Mayuge. Please, the Executive Director of the CBO, Namaingo, you're the one? Oh, I'm so grateful, Mayuge. Although there are many services offered free of charge, what financial barriers are communities still experiencing? Yes. Although there are many services offered free of charge, what are some of financial barriers communities still facing? And how are these affecting the continuity of care? Please kindly share with us your experience from the dialogues you conducted.
Thank you very much. For the same as Sophie, I'm the team leader of Hope and Peace Youth Empowerment Center in Nigeria. It's a community-based organization which has lasted for 20 years. We thank God that by 2021, we selected to go for capacity building, and we've been holding big sum of money because of TASO. We really appreciate you for the capacity that you gave us as open place. You empowered us, and we are shining because of TASO and the leader. Thank you very much. They are asking about the financial barriers. Though the government gives us money or brings all the medicine at the facility, it has been a very big challenge. One, in my health center 4, it was recorded that past time they were stealing medicine in the center. As CLM came in, we pointed it out, and people were missing a lot. So we thank the authority, that is the RBC, the COW, the DHO of Mayuke, which came in very fast and stopped that stealing. It had reduced on it because people were coming in when there are no medicine, and people cannot even afford to buy medicine. It has been a very big barrier that if however much you tell a person you can't buy a Panadol, you don't afford. What barriers again? It is transport coming to the facility. You find that as Namai was reported, Mayuge, it is 70% of Mayuge land is covered with waters. And people come from different distant places to come and take what? Medicine. But when they reach at the facility, there is not what? Medicine. So they are disgusted to come and face. And that's one only cannot stop us to appreciate the ministry, because by the time CLM came in, there was a lot of stock out of medicine. And by now, as we talk, the stock out has at least reduced. That there's very few essential medicine that are missing in the what? In the medicine, in the what? In the facilities. More especially the malaria. Essential medicine for malaria, but at least there is something good in the what? In the facilities. They said how is it affecting what?
Yes, I'm saying the question was how financial barriers, what are the financial barriers communities are still experiencing, and how are they affecting continuity of care?
Yeah, it is affecting mostly because in my opinion, most of the people are farmers. They can't afford medicine. That's a very big barrier. That if they go to the facility and they don't find, that's why we find that malaria has shoot. If we use the data that we presented last month, malaria is high because they can't afford to buy even to treat themselves. Second, I talked about the distance with the facility. Thirdly, I talked about the finances. Matching with the finances, we talk about the buying of the medicine only and stealing of the medicine that they are not what? At the facility. Then the last question is? How does stealing of the medicine, how does buying of the medicine affect the continuity of care? How is it affecting question.
Yes. How does the high transport cost, because you said most of them are coming from far, most of them are coming from scattered islands, especially those in the island, accessing health care, it's a long distance, they spend a lot of money. So how does it affect the continuity of care in Mayuge, from your observation?
In my observation, it has affected in a very big percentage because people are overdying because of the distance. They can't afford transport. Secondly, they can't afford the what? Continuity of the what? We just, before we can talk of the barriers, we have in Mayuge, in all the sub-counties, we have the health center to raise. That the barriers are very few. That's why we are looking at the barriers, but the barriers, since the CLM came in, it has minimized the barriers, many of them, because it was long distance, it was waiting times, abusive languages, but all have been minimized.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, the Executive Director from Mayuge. And for the interest of time, also let me welcome, we hear from the Executive Director of Luka. From your experience, the Executive Director of Luka. From what you found out during these community dialogues, what quality of care issues are the most concerning? What quality of care issues are the most concerning?
Okay, thank you. Observe. This is Mshara Damali from Chirimba Social Service Center. It is part of the CBOs that are implementing the connected monitoring project. And our question was speaking, I will just go straight to the point, which was speaking about the quality of care issues that are most concerning, based on the evidence. The evidence we are speaking about are the participants, but the monitors are already sharing the message with who are they. And we have, before, we had 8 facilities that were selected. But this time we are lucky that we are switching to 10. And at each facility of the 8, they interact with 15 beneficiaries, one-on-one. They also interact with the community members in a focus group discussion, which is having a number of 12. One is having participants from malaria, HIV, TB, that is the category. So these are their voices that I'm going to present. My question was speaking about the quality of care. The quality of care in our district is fair. And what is causing that? We are having a chat, the participants or the community members are already sharing issues of long waiting hours at facilities, that is cross-cutting at the facilities available in Luka. And what is the cause of that? We have a few health workers. Then also, we have an issue of few beds, like at Shimra Health Center 4 and some other facilities as a challenge, yet the patients who are already seeking service are quite many. Then we look at, there is also a challenge in the report of stockouts. Then we have another challenge that the participants shared. It was all about the feedback mechanisms. There is a big gap that community members don't know. They mean they can give the feedback to the facilities. Yes, some facilities have the suggestion box, but a few people know the use of the suggestion box. Then we have congestion. Congestion is the issue which is mainly caused by the infrastructure. Like some facilities have the issue of congestion, especially at OPD, like Chirunga Health Center 4. Then lastly, another issue I can say is all about the patient care training. Most of health workers during the sharing the monitors, they were acknowledging that they still need training. But when we went back and shared with them, they were seeking for trainings outside the district. And that's what basically they were speaking about, but they have the SMEs, but they were speaking about the trainings outside the district. Then we can go to the question 2. Is it fine?
It's okay, you can respond, please.
Question 2 was speaking about improvements are needed to ensure people receive safe, timely, and effective services. So, as Chioka Social Service Center is seeking for the following: fix more medicine through the supplies. Then we have addressed the issues of congestion at OPD. Then we are also seeking reduce. We are seeking for reducing of the long waiting hours at the through triage and staffing. Then we have we are seeking also the training of more health workers in patient-centered care trainings. Then activate the feedback mechanisms at the facilities. Then lastly, we address the issue of beddings that are few at facilities. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So you've said they should train health workers or conduct CMEs at health facilities, activating the client satisfaction survey. I think most districts are having the HR record for client satisfaction survey, where we can get feedback mechanism from the quality of care services provided. I also wanted you to report, can you re-echo again another what improvement also that and ensure patients are receiving safe, timely, and effective services. Recall, you said training, activating client satisfaction survey.
We had the issue of medicine, to fix the medicine supply.
Okay.
Then we had addressing the issue of congestions at facilities. Then we had reduce on the long waiting times through triage and staffing. Then we are also seeking for more trainings of health workers in patient-centered care. Then activate feedback mechanisms at facilities.
Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much, the Executive Director from the CBO from Luca. Lastly, let me welcome the Executive Director from the CBO, Uvuma. We wanted you to share with us, after the 3 semesters of community-led monitoring, what are the key messages that community want district leaders, the Ministry of Health and partner to live with today, and what actions should be prioritized? Please respond quickly.
Thank you so much, Mr. Moderator. That Micah was going to tell me to present the findings of the ministry. Very much has come in the right time. First and foremost, my name, I'm Robert Kolubu. I'm the Executive Director of OPCEG of OPC. So we're operating in 52 isolated islands. So we made up of 52 isolated islands. And I'm happy that I'm going to present in about the key messages. I'm going to talk about 7 messages we have according to our data that was analyzed, all the findings from the data analysis that was conducted. The first one is CRM is one to take these messages. CRM is a proven life-saving partnership. I think that's why we are all here for different stakeholders. Here, we have, because we conduct CRM at different levels, community, health facility, and also district level. So we work in collaboration in our stakeholder approach. So the first message is that proven to be life-saving partnership. The second message is that persistent and recurring stock out of community. This has been raised actually by all the CBOs from different districts. And actually, every service that this has continuously happened. But only maybe I'll talk about the different way. But maybe on this issue, we realize that when the patients go for tests, when they do the tests, then after they send them away for medications. So they choose either to carry or to move out of the area. Because most of them the transport to move from one island to another island. I mean, from one island to another nearby district. For example, going to be nearby, if you want to go to access health services, for example, the entire district doesn't have a dentist. According to the findings we made, we found out that there was no dentist. So if you have like dental infections, you either go and treat it, you choose either to move out from that facility to go to the mainland, and can cost over not less than 50,000 shillings to get a boat to transport you from that facility to go to the nearby district to get that service. Either choose one, either choose two. Either you die or you look for transport to move out from that place. So there's that assistant to carry stock out of central medicine, especially malaria. Condoms are not actually, I can give an example of the condoms, the clear condoms. According to the findings, we don't see most of them actually have clients, almost all of them have never actually seen a clear condom. I think that should be noted in this meeting. Then the third one, actually, that yesterday in the news means the government sector for municipal health. I'm going to present most of our findings here. Because I'm going to present some, and I heard that it was an enforcement that came out from the government sector about health facilities are not put, the health workers are not put in most of uniform. That came out strongly in our findings. And I heard yesterday, the government sector, Dr. Pina, this gave some sort of enforcement. And I'm very sure that's going to be addressed. That is one of our issues here on the list. Then another message, geography and long distances create extreme barriers to access. So as I said in the beginning, we must made up of 50 scattered islands. So now getting, sometimes it's very hard, especially for pregnant women, to move from access services from one facility. Because there are some facilities that serves, one facility serves more than one island. That's a very big challenge, for instance, in Udha. So you are going to have one access services, but another kind of when there is no facility, that's a very big challenge. So, and I think to outline the program should determine who lives and who dies. So this meeting will address these issues. So because we also found that there are some pregnant women who have delivered in the box, okay? And so that is very, it's not something good. Most of them they deliver from home. So I think this meeting can help us to address some of this. Then another message is on stigma and discrimination. I keep silencing that. And this has been actually raised by most of my colleagues from different districts or the different CBOs. So for sometimes communities here being stigmatized by health workers, service providers, those who are identified with who are HIV positive. Sometimes they fear to be identified. And because of inadequate counseling, so they end up being stigmatized. The next message is on social services are entire absent, especially oral services when it comes to, as I said, that we don't have dental such role in the entire district. So this is one of the key issues that we must address here, because most of them who are treated infections, because some they don't even cannot transport from that facility to the mainland. As I summarize, let me summarize with our priority actions, all our asks that we want this meeting, the Ministry of Health, the council, the stakeholders, so we can address this. We need to have emergency supply where this, malaria medicine, essential medicine, then rapid stockouts. This should be conducted, especially in the CRM, in the facilities where CRM has been implemented. So that we can conduct the stock audit, then emergency consultation like fiber boats. So we need this urgently so that we can help those communities or the patients to access the services. Then in medical allocation of the budget, increase the budget, maybe for next financial year. Then establishment of sustainable medicine accountability framework, also train the workers on supply chain management. I think some of the assistants have come from Rich Island. I beg to give you the next strategy. Other long actions, long-term actions. Some are temporal, some are long-term. And I believe, since you're coming from the Skyline, imagine 50 Skyline Islands to make up our district. You cannot do the same thing with that.
It's okay. Please try to wind up. Please try to wind up.
It's the only district which doesn't have electrical connection from the national grid. The entire district will depend on solar systems. That's why we find the facilities we don't have like good lighting in the river sections. So we are women both for the rivers and the lighting don't even have. So these are the issues that we need to bring out to this meeting so that they can be addressed. Then the electronic stock visibility system, which will also be implemented, because how shall we be able to know that the stock out placing will just works. I think into the electronic system, from anywhere you can intervene from there, we just go in and see. There is like in the women facility, they don't have the ARVs. So it will be easy actually if you have these systems in place. Although we are suggesting how these systems, although we don't have also electricity in the entire district, so that means we need to also increase, find a way of having low-cost solar systems in these facilities. Then we need to advocate for funding, increase the funding, also strengthen CRM backlog to ensure timely response to identified gaps. Because God has identified these gaps. But that identification of these gaps, sometimes we stop there. We don't make follow-up. When there's no budget money for follow-up, sometimes we don't take action. After identifying these issues, it ends there. So we need to work on that. Also, procurement of our ancestral fiber boat ambulance and these island facilities. With the fuel, then operate our boats right. Sometimes they can, it is big, I don't think it's also important to have a fiber boat which you can also maintain. It's better, you budget for this, you get it, so we get the operator, you station it somewhere, and also have a budget for fuel. Because it is easier to travel, it doesn't consume a lot of time than these canoes, these boats. Instead of like traveling, we use over 4 hours to go to that island. You can use just an hour only with this fiber boat. I think
that is Gandalo, Sierra, and the Private Health Center 4. We are begging that at least you give us a health center to become a hospital. And most like what we are looking at is the Uganda Health Center 4 because it has some facilities, it has some structures. Maybe if the finances can be put together, they can add a few and we make it a what? A hospital. Faces. We are badly off with the health centers there is. Or of recent, we've fenced at least White Hamburg a halfway. But if you go to Ikombe Health Center is like a market. And if you go to my Health Center for which is advocating for a hospital, the behind part is open. So due to the finances, it has many services up to that what? To that thing. So in fact, at least if at all their finances, the barriers has created a lot of this in my Health Center for. I beg to submit, but at least there's something that we put right for my stakeholders. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. For the interest of time, we wanted to get some concerns from the audience, some questions. What are some of the concerns that are still not being fully addressed from this dialogue? We wanted to hear from you, the audience. What are some of the concerns that are still not fully addressed from these dialogues that have been conducted in different districts? And what do you think should be prioritized basing from the findings from the dialogues? Please. From the audience. Thank you.
I want to speak it by a lot of time. Use of time is prioritized. Use of time is prioritized infrastructure in the health facilities. Use of time is prioritized low staffing levels. Use of time prioritized if you look at some of these issues some attitude, let us see, accent is the main this are just highlighting. I think health is human being. There are people who can come for inclusion because when comes out, it still the influence whether it is because that you can give back. I think someone is really amazing. When you look at the concept like what, that means you never come up with a house. If somebody really has very bad attitude, bad attitude, some people, even when you put them in a society which is very a society which is organized, or just well and that place. There are certain things that is very important. And they will always be there. When you bring a very good environment to the facility, those people are always. But that's aside. If you look at when you look at when some facilities for the hospital. In one thing I can tell you, and it's for a fact, that even if Uganda have all the money for this stuff, we can never give a person to every single Uganda for this stuff. That's all. And what's the answer? We look at what happened during COVID. When COVID started, out of panic and out of fear, because we are seeing many people out there being completely missing because back to work and who are they are from the world. And in fact, we also see the goals in the land. As we said, goals in the land. When they lock down, even before the East and the lockdown, we are not about because they are over to the community and we do the validation. We ask them, these issues were identified. Is it true that it prevents them? The community members themselves and they say, all those ones represent our views. Or that one was examined and removed and removed those issues. From the community, we go to the facility level. All these people are involved. When we come back to the district, we call the RBC, the BISO, the DHO, in collaboration with the district vice staff. I don't see any structure apart from the education department, even planning, being involved in the district feedback meetings. I have my vice statistician, my boss is there, you can testify. We have our car, she has been here in these meetings. The DHO has been calling meetings of intelligence for disciplinary actions. And actually we have taken steps to return, to maybe to do what? To stop the payment of wages to some of the workers. So I don't know my colleague from which state he was left. Maybe you can tell us that this state I get involved.
No, please, for the interest of time, please, let us close this session. Okay, thank you so much.
All right, thank you so much, the moderator and the panelists. Please, you can get back. We are going to have maybe we shall have an opportunity to speak when those other panels are presented. And this time I want to recognize the presence of Cow, Kugoma, Cow, Namaingo, the DHO Namaingo, you are welcome. And there is something that I noted. You know, there is a landscape of things happening. When we are, yesterday when we were on the other side of Elton, people were talking about, they were talking about coffee. We were talking about the line, we were talking about how people are using the water borders after the rain. But here today we are talking about gold mining, we are talking about ambulance, both ambulance, we are talking about how fuel gets finished, where the community cannot afford the fuel. But I missed here where you are saying, but the fuel was not there, people have managed to swim and cross the health facilities. Where is that? Thank you. At that point, I would like to invite the second panel, which will be the last panel to lunch. Let's give this panel time so that we can be able to finish it and go for lunch, and we shall come back.
Share with the stakeholders therein, then we track the changes. Now, as Government of Uganda, Ministry of Health, there are a lot of efforts besides the CNM. Currently, we are looking at the routine client satisfaction feedback interviews, isn't it? We have suggestion boxes at the respective facilities. We have the community barazas happening. We have surveys here and there. And all these speaking to one thing. So I have the honor to introduce this panel.
Basamakula, District of Officer Wikwe.
Babide Josephine Chobe, Acting DH Oluka.
Matthias Mangeni, Acting DH Namaingo.
Betty Nandudu Mubita, DCD Namaingo.
Good afternoon, Victoria Kanafu, District Community Development Officer Mayugi.
So before my example, in the house. Yes, you come and join us. So for this particular panel, you all appreciate from the introductions that they are the team leads of our respective districts. We want to respond to areas of clinical service delivery gaps, and we hear from the DHOs appreciating these gaps in clinical care. We'll also be listening into how we can improve the quality of care, then the health system strengthening. Then we should be appreciating our community accountability, how we can address some of the social barriers therein, and at the end of the day, on how we can sustain CLM. From the beginning, we all noted that it's been donor supported. We want to reach a level when we can have it institutionalized. The time comes and we are no longer speaking to semesters, but something that is into the routine, not the sporadic feedbacks we are getting. We look forward to that engagement this afternoon. So we are starting off with Amdamali Waiswa. I'm the regional TV and North Precinct focal person for Busoga and Udha regions. I'm the Joseph Mukasa of that side, but I take care of 2 regions. I'm also blessed to be part of this forum this afternoon. And the DHO speaker will give this to Yukwe. Yes. From the findings that were shared since morning, that we feel are cross-cutting, issues to do with medicine stockouts, long waiting times, staffing shortages, then community concerns about staff attitude and the quality of care. I'm sure they all resonate within your district. It's not news. It's not news at all. But as district, what action are we taking? Because it's not.
Damali, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure. The PhD question, by the way.
I am sure I can write a thesis about that. Now, first of all, I want to give background to this. We need to appreciate as a country that we are no longer where we were in 1996. The population of this country is growing at a very fast rate. If you know the fertility rate in this country, if you know the rate of population growth, currently we are about 45 million Ugandans. 10 years ago, we were less than 30 million Ugandans. However, the systems and structures have not changed. The same health facilities, the same numbers of health workers, the same drug supplies. There have been a few changes here and there, but they are not commensurate to the changes of the population. You realize that the infrastructure improvements that are happening are not commensurate to what we are seeing. Everything, when you look at the building blocks of WHO, everything that is happening in the health sector is not in tandem with the population growth. So first of all, as a district, we are trying to implement what the Minister of Health is giving us. Because one of our key deliverables as a district is to implement policy and strategy as laid out by the Minister of Health. That's why in the morning when I saw Commissioner here, I told my brother, I'm glad Commissioner is here. He needs to listen to some of these voices. Now, whatever has to be done by the district has to have a strong hand from the ministry. I will tell you, and I will start from so if we are to be able to improve issues to do with service delivery, we need to strengthen community ownership and ensure the community directs the response. Now, strengthening community ownership has a number of things that have to be done in there. We need to make sure that we revitalize the units. In the design of the health sector, the units were very vital as bridging gaps between the health services and the community system. But right now, when you go in, the units are no longer functional. And the main issue is around funding. When you look at the resources that are going down to facility level, they are not enough to ensure that these units are doing their oversight role. So can we revitalize the units to ensure that the communities are in direct contact with the facilities? It is very important that we establish a very easy back and forth communication system between the facilities and the communities. At the moment, we do not have a clear system where we can receive feedback. I know the barazas are happening, but those are once in a while. We are having a few of those engagements, those are once in a while. Can we be innovative to ensure that we have real-time feedback from the community in terms of the quality of services? I like what the ministry is doing right now about the client satisfaction survey, but that is not enough because not everybody has a smartphone. So how can we be innovative to ensure that probably the 6767 message that can be sent by anybody can also be tapped into by the district to ensure that we have real-time feedback on what is happening? That will improve the quality of our services. Now, before I leave the community, there is something that people are not giving emphasis, especially around using the leadership structures in the community. We all know that for successful advocacy, we have key changers in the community, religious leaders, political leaders. There are some guys in the community that are well listened to. Can we bring them as part of our leadership structure to ensure that they bridge the gap between the facility and the community for clear information sharing? That will ensure that we get feedback for us to be able to work on our challenges. Now, when we go to the issue of health workers, and I think that's where the biggest discussion should be. Everybody urges that the health workers are still, very tough. They back at clients. They do all sorts of things to clients. Now, if anybody here has been on those roads, you will commiserate with me what I'm saying. That the numbers of patients that we are seeing now are not the numbers we used to see 10 years ago. The numbers have gone up. The numbers of patients have gone up, the numbers of health workers are going up at a very slow rate. So can we make sure that Minister of Health, advocates Minister of Public Service and Minister of Finance to avail more wage to districts to be able to recruit critical human resource? Because it does not make sense to see a doctor. I will tell you in our hospital, one doctor operates 15 patients a night. I don't know if people know what that means. This is a guy who is going to fall down and will not wake up tomorrow. So can we make sure that the health work numbers are in tandem with the current numbers as we move forward? And that's not only for the doctors. That goes into the nurses, that goes into the midwives, that goes into the anesthetic officers. It also goes into the other support cadres. We go to Kauru Hospital, which I have mandate over. When you look at the allied health workers, we have one orthopedic officer. One. Now, those of you who have traveled on that road, there is an accident on that road every day. And we are getting somebody in the wheelchair with a fracture every day. Not less than 5, but there is only one person who never goes for leave, who is not allowed to be away. That crosses into the optical, it crosses into the dental, it crosses into the ENT. So we need to make sure that we boost these numbers of health workers. Then we also need to come up with strategies on how to further motivate the staff. Can we ensure that the people that are doing well are rewarded? Can we have a recognition system for people who are doing well. I'm proud that those of you who know my history, I started in the Kali Romania Health Center 4, and I did my master's free of charge because I was recognized for exemplary performance. But that is not gone. We don't see a lot of that happening now. Can we see people being recognized for doing well? That will motivate people to work harder. That will reduce on what we are seeing in the health facilities. Because some people are not working because they feel like they are putting in more than what they are getting out. But also we need to ensure that those ones that are not doing what they have to do, they are also brought to book. That's why we've gone ahead with a new FME system. You can actually decide not to pay somebody who is not working. Can we strengthen that to ensure that everybody is doing what they have to do? HCM has been rolled out. Can we make sure that as we are setting the goals for the health workers, the outputs in those goals are very clear to clients' satisfaction, such that the people are appraised depending on the smiles that they are putting to the community? I think that would make a lot of change. Talking about medicines, that one, we all know that when a cycle comes, it takes 1 month and it's over. The other day I was given an increment in my budget for our 200 million, and somebody came telling me to jubilate. I can't jubilate because that cannot even increase what I need. I need close to 5 billion shillings, and you give me an increment of 200 million. What is that? What is that? So we are driving our patients because they are being asked to buy Kavera, they are being asked to buy gloves, they are being asked to buy some drugs, not because the health workers want to ask them, because they are not available. And that is affecting client satisfaction, that is bringing negativity to the health system. So can we make sure that those basics are available to ensure that the health system is responsive to the needs of the community? Very important. One of the areas which I really love is the issue of data use. I realize this country has a challenge. This country has a challenge that they do not use numbers to be able to plan for tomorrow. I think it's the usual planning, it's best planning. Yesterday, I had a talk with the Rotary Club of Wandegear. They are trying they want to improve MCH services. And all their projects are targeting the urban setting. But when I showed them data, that the problems with MCH are actually in the urban settings. They are in the rural settings. They were mesmerized. So, can we make sure that this country gets the culture of using data from national level to district level, such that the planning at district level is data focused. The interventions are data focused. And as districts, can we make sure that all the implementing partners that are coming in to implement strategies that are driven with quality improvement, not the usual things? Can we make sure that they are coming in to answer the questions that we've been asking ourselves, not the questions that they are asking themselves? The biggest challenge that we have is that so many partners come in to support us to take a deliverable because that's what the donor wants. I think the trends have to change. It is now human-centered design. The districts have to dictate the future. They have to dictate the direction of implementation. As I conclude, as districts, we need to own up this. I know, and I've talked about the ministry's role in this, but we need to make enough noise because these guys are not hearing us. They probably don't see what we are going through. That's why they are comfortable wherever they are, thinking that things are happening. So we need to ensure that we use all forums as districts to be able to show the challenges that we are going through, to be able to demonstrate that even with challenges, we are doing something, for people to appreciate that if things can be improved, then we can see a better service delivery for the people of Uganda. I beg to stop there for now. I'll be coming back.
Thank you so much. I see you in class now. And it's very, very clear. We need to advocate for more resources. If anything is to change around there. It's talking about human resources, including the specialized staff. Is emphasizing the need to attract wage. Is looking at the need for us to recognize those that are performing well, and even sanction those that do not meet our expectations. He emphasizes data-focused interventions. That today, if we are talking about evidence that this is happening, we should be able to design interventions in that line. And he's also emphasizing the need for us to be accountable. We are accountable for whatever is in place. Doctor, in your district, have you had challenges with organized absenteeism of staff, despite your very low staffing levels?
Yes, we have, and I'm glad my colleagues here will be talking to that. So we've had people that have actually disappeared for 3 years and have been getting salary without being noticed. But recently, we've become a little strict in terms of ensuring that we verify who receives our salary. We've had a lot of impromptu visits to the facilities, and when we get there, we try to ensure that whoever is available on the duty roster is actually on ground. But also we have performance reports. So these reports are submitted every 15th of the month, submitted by the in-charge to the DHO's office to be forwarded to the COW's office. And these reports are summarizing the attendance attribute of every staff. So those ones that fall below the threshold, definitely they do not get paid. And because of those check measures, we are starting to see people starting to fulfill their presence on duty, even when it is not yet where we want to be. But it is work in progress, and we hope that with time we will definitely realize a good presence.
Okay. Services are meant to be free, save for probably logistics that are not available and serve the patient blinded. How are the issues of extortion? So for theatre services, laboratory services, in some of the facilities. Because the communities are shouting loud that we're extorting money from them.
And I will not deny that the extortion is not there. I'm actually glad you asking me that question. If you remember what used to happen in the Valley Hospital nowadays. So, colleagues, I don't want to defend health workers that extortion is not happening. Indeed, it is happening. It is happening. I personally will tell you that in the last 3 weeks, I have released two circulars punctuated by phrases from public standing orders around that. We continue to ensure that we teach people, we tell people what they have to do. But we are also now working with authorities from security. And I've told this the other day. I was in our hospital when the Honorable Minister came. I was in our hospital, and I told my colleagues, once you are good, I'll make sure I bring your Rolex every day for the next 7 days. So I will take their breakfast, I'll take their lunch, I'll take their supper, and I'll make sure they stay in as an example. So we are making sure that we're working with security to enforce. Anybody who will be gotten will act as an example. But we also need to go back and find out what exactly is causing this extortion. What people call extortion actually might not be extortion, might not be extension. Like I've told you, we have basics in the health facilities that do not exist, that are not linear. Supplies that do not come, yet we need them to save what? Save a patient. So for example, a patient comes to me, you have a bleeding ectopic pregnancy. I cannot refer you, I need to do a surgery on you. But I do not have that simple anesthetic drug, and I'll send you to go and buy a bottle of ketamine.
And not the 500,000?
And not the 500,000. So you know, and it's very interesting that we've had women, and the men in the house actually, you need to listen to this point because it concerns you. We've had women that have pulled money from their husbands and told them that the health workers need the money. Yet in actual sense, it is the women that need the money.
Only women and not men?
No, not men. I think it's not happening in men. And when we interview those ladies, they will tell us that he never gives me money. This is my opportunity to get what? To get the money. So we also have those situations, like I've mentioned, the extortion of 200,000 is also there, the 300,000 is also there, but it is a little continuous. It is a big Titanic that we are continuing to build as we sail, and I believe that we will be able to improve the situation. I have some
information that in some the caretaker of the patient. The caretaker of the patients are the ones who sometimes demand money from
whether from the politicians or from the husband or the person they are taking care of, and I think we do some money. And eventually us, they think doctors are not need money.
So are they the same that again communicate probably during the barazas that
yes, the same.
The money.
And if I'm giving you feedback, which I also go to, I'm a deputy product. It's for me I go to relate to that, trying to get the money from me.
Thank you so much, Dr. Katamba. I know there's yet a lot for you to share with us. The mic to the DHO Luka. Yes, for DHO Luka, we appreciate still the staffing shortages. We've also appreciated the service costs therein coming in form of lack of the supplies, the extortion. But one of the other concerns that keeps coming out is privacy in the health facilities. I don't know what your experience is like in that privacy. And what's still, when we are running the integration agenda, that we have mixed OPD models, we have chronic care models, and we are putting patients together. But the voices are that there is no privacy. What is your experience?
Thank you so much. In Luka, our highest level of the facility we have is a healthy center 4. And just as the previous speaker said, when you look at the number of patients being handled here are too many regarding the structure. The facility is constructed in such a way that the infrastructure itself is inadequate at the moment. A facility which was supposed to handle less than 50 patients at OPD is now handling 300 plus. So you find that privacy is really a challenge. Nevertheless, we are trying our level best. With integration, you find that a patient who was supposed to come today, tomorrow, and the other day is being handled by the health worker at once. And also, we've provided screens and we empower even our patients. But the challenge is still that we still have that inadequate infrastructure.
Thank you so much, DHO. So which support do you advocate for?
One is a wage. If the wage is added, then the district itself can work on improving the infrastructure. But still, we are trying to lobby from the IPs to help us on improving the infrastructure. As I talk, there is an IP coming in to help us in the extension of the maternity block. Because maternity, the labor suite is very small with the 2 beds. One is pushing here, another is pushing the other side. The ward itself is very small with 12 beds, but handling over 30 mothers in a day. And it's a mixture. We are admitting the post-operatives and the mothers all in the same ward. Sometimes we find that even those who are being operated on are admitted on the same ward. But we are lobbying for expansion of the facility. When you come to the general ward, we are mixing patients. Like we don't have a children's ward. So we mix the children together with the female patients. Then the male are put on the other side. We don't have an emergency unit. So we are handling one by one. We are looking at the critical part of it first, expansion of the maternity block. Then we shall think of also expanding the other blocks.
Thank you so much, DHO. We appreciate that you should know what you want. Support. Somebody walked here with a package. Just bring it out.
Infrastructure. Building for us, expanding for us the wards, and lifting the health center for our community hospital. Yes. And I know that will come with a number of advantages.
Wow. Yes, D.O. Idanga. Yes? What? Idanga is not here. Yes, I think let's go to Namai. We can have a voice on community accountability. That probably Dr. Kamba has already spoke to. What is your district strengthening community participation, feedback mechanisms, and social accountability within the health system? You brought it out on one, the DHMTs, where we have the community represented. He was also looking at, besides the barazas, the routine client satisfaction, feedback interviews. When you look at Namayingo per se, how is your community participation? How are your feedback loops in there, and the social accountability? Yes, what's beyond? Yes? Then come again. We want to understand, back in Namayingo, if we are to speak to community accountability, how is your district strengthening community participation or feedback mechanisms when it comes to accountability within the health system?
Okay, thank you very much. Once again, I'm Betty Nanduru, District Community Development Officer. I want to thank you for the question, and I also want to appreciate for the CLMS that we are in Namayingo as a district. I think I want to appreciate that Namayingo, 3 of our sub-counties are islands, and then we have the 8 that are on the mainland. Now, when it comes to issue of strengthening community participation in the issues of health and others, of course, as a department, we have a structure. We have community development officers at sub-county level. But of course, this is one person in the whole sub-county. So what we are strengthening is majorly working with our partners. Because as a department per se, we are challenged in financial issues, and mostly we are working with our partners. And what we are strengthening mostly is issues of community dialogues. And usually when we are working like with the biostar, and it is identified from the data that in this particular village, there are issues of high teenage pregnancy. In this particular village, there are issues. That is when we work with our partners, like right now we have Naguru Teenage Center, we have a code, so that we organize a community dialogue meeting, where we have the community members, we have the leaders in the community, and we discuss those issues. I remember like when the issues that have been raised here from the community-led monitoring, where we are having actually, like I remember we had a dialogue in Buhemba, and where they were raising issues like the health workers who are rude, and we were able to hear from them and also to give our feedback. And of course here, for us when we are looking at this, mostly when we are discussing with communities, we want also to focus more on their role as the community. Yes, the health work is good, but what could have caused that? And they are saying there are long lines. So in our approach, we want also to usually we want also to cause them to think about themselves. What is that?
Participants saying that your review meetings, are they in the DHT meetings, so that they are able to voice out?
Yeah, that's why I began at the community dialogue meeting in a particular village where we have identified a particular problem, so that we hear from them and then we also give them a feedback. What is that they have not done well? Because now, like the issue of very many lines at the health facility, we're also telling them now, government has done a lot. They have distributed the mosquito nets. How are you using them so that we reduce on malaria? So in this, we also encouraging them that yes, government is playing a part on the curative side, but you as community people, what are you doing to ensure that you also prevent the diseases that are preventing? And that is at community level. So giving them that information and also encouraging them to see what is their role in that.
And probably the other thing, we go to the DSPO Mayuge. What is the role of your department in addressing issues of stigma, discrimination, GBV, and probably even other social barriers that affect our service utilization?
Thank you, Damali. My name is Victoria Kanafu. The basic or major role of the department is to mobilize communities towards development, towards good livelihood, towards involvement in all government programs. So basically, as for Mayuge, we have 16 sub-counties, and this sub-county has a CDO. So their major role is to mobilize, to sensitize the community, to educate them about what is expected of them. Because we understand that we all know, but sometimes we don't know. So the role of the department is to mobilize, to sensitize, provide education, because you might have information, but when it is the wrong information. So that education bit of what is required of the community members as regards to all aspects of life, health, food security, just like Betty said, that we must look at the prevention more than the curative. So what is the household doing? We mobilize them to be part of all that can prevent food security, nutrition, safe water, to be part of what prevents more than going to the hospital when they are affected. Then when we look at the challenges of gender-based violence, we've always looked at gender-based violence as the types, social, economic, emotional, but let's add on the levels. Where does it begin from? We have the individual, we have the society, we have the community. How has it affected you and at what level? What are you doing? When we talk about gender-based violence and we leave out all the parties that are involved in this, you can be a victim because it is at a relationship level. You can be a victim of gender-based violence because it is in the household. You can be a victim of gender-based violence because it is a society issue. So the CDO's department is required to talk about all the forms of gender-based violence, socio-economic, emotional, physical, in relationship to where it is happening. So we have the duty to try and train and talk to all. There is a challenge of male involvement or boys' involvement, because as we look at the situation now, it does not have an age of where it begins. Even us here, much as we are educated, we are blessed, we have our form of art, gender-based violence. So we have to talk to the community, all people involved in a household, from individual, community, social, to look at the positive side of how to reduce or prevent gender-based violence. Then when we look at discrimination, the discrimination and stigma is a big challenge in that. Let me begin with person with special interest groups. With due respect, all of us here come from sub-counties or come from an area, a hospital. When you ask the health department, are these hospitals equipped with the other side of people with special interest? Do they have special beds? Do they have sign language interpreters? Then I have to tell you that we are social workers who go to the community, and you cannot communicate to that special category. We are not trained in sign language, but we are social workers. We don't have an officer doing that, and the patient will come. The client will walk in your office and is like, I need help, but you cannot communicate.
So how are you working hand in hand with the health actors?
We always ask them to liaise with, for example, the education department. They have teachers, maybe, like I was saying, the inclusion of people with special needs. But by the time you're inviting somebody to come and support you for a patient who is sick and has come for treatment, maybe this officer is in class, and the communication between there is a gap. How long will you wait to serve this patient? So the discrimination is a challenge to all of us. When we look at what happens to HIV patients, sometimes some health centers are living in the special days, and when they see people walking into that part of the health center, they tag you. So they walk away. They want to do it otherwise because everybody will know. By the time Vic is walking into that area, maybe it's positive. So we look at if we can have a holistic, that any person, irrespective of what he or she is suffering from, let him or her walk in so that we are not separating their days of serving them.
That's where we are currently. Yes, the integration agenda.
But still,
we all walk somewhere and nobody knows what I'm going for.
Yes, but still that discrimination, because if they saw you walk in every Tuesday.
We are saying we are running daily clinics, maybe what will differ. You have 5 teens or 6 teens and they have an envelope. Customer would say the 6 teens should be ARVs, and malarias.
Then Alan has already talked about the healthcare services, self-healthcare services, friendly, accommodative. Just like he said that the workload is high, and as human nature, sometimes you fall off when the work is too much. So we still encourage, we are talking of utilizing the various healthcare centers, because if these health centers are equipped with the staff, with the medication, instead of these clients walking into one particular health center 4, they can remain in a 3, because sometimes when you go to a 2 and something is not there, they'll refer you, which is the process. So if it is equipped at health center 2, a malaria patient will remain at health center 4. If the stock out is this drug, instead of referring this patient, I think that would reduce all the congestion and waiting lines there in particular health centers.
People really appreciate that the department has a very big role to play. Right from facilitating the community dialogues, the community awareness, the mobilization, we see all this coming into play. Supporting us to join the income generating activities, and the reason as to why the woman may not cheat, especially when she's empowered. Give the woman what it takes. She will not come and tell you and I. Give her the 1 million of PDN. She will be able to utilize it well, and she will not ask for money for the doctor. You know? So they need to be empowered, and I believe your office has a big part to play.
Yes, Damal, that is a core mandate for the department, and it's unfortunate that all government programs have procedure. It is not coming and go. So the communities that we serve sometimes get tired. Even when the ideal is there, the process is, this is the bureaucracy. Go from A to Q, and somebody is saying, I remain at B. So the community development officers, or the technical staff, because when we talk about PDM, for example, it has a number of stakeholders involved. That if a community member has deliberately refused to fulfill all the requirements, they will fall out, and the thing will be, we have not been what? Helped to benefit.
But is it true that you are cheating the communities by eating their money?
No, we've heard that, and we believe it is there. Even when
just for a percentage.
It is a process, Daman, because what I've seen, the responsible persons is not only the technical, even the community members who are the PDM circle leaders, who are responsible for selecting the beneficiaries, are part of the process. So I won't deny that.
Thank you so much, Becky. And as we wind up, the DCD of Buvoma, we are going to wind up, say it, by sharing with us, now we can institutionalize CLM, so that the community voices are routinely made use of to inform the district planning and the service improvement. We don't want to come here to listen to what the CSOs have found out, but we want to make it part and parcel of the routine. That probably during the DHT
should be dragged, because most of these issues that are raised, much of them are policy issues that the CBO cannot handle during the advocacy, because we know that is one of the characteristics of CBOs. They cause noise. You cause noise for change to happen. People in government sometimes are used to their own life. They have that familiarity syndrome. Someone reports in office is always, for example, maybe a CBO, and thinks things are normal as every day. So CBOs have that mandate and capacity to really make noise. You are activists. That's why they say you operate at a grassroots level. Bring those local solutions that are really in tandem with people's interests, before even you think of policy and what. So utilization of these findings is critical. Let these findings not end at dialogue meetings like here in Jinja. Some of them need to be carried forward to technical planning committees. They need to be carried at DEC, where CAO is the secretary of the district executive committee, so that we see change, so that we don't come back again here for another engagement and the same problems actually happen. Some problems are beyond our control. Issues of wage, harmonization, you get, those also have stakeholders that really, so if we have that support, for example, from DEC, CLM will really flourish. It will have that support. Then I'm also looking at issues of sustainability. Udha is a CBO, coupled with a number of its interventions. They have a project timeline, they have a project cost, And believe me or not, the next 5 years we may not see wood again. Because this project is what? It's timeline, it's time bound. It has a cost and they will operate within that cost. But does it mean that all these interventions that they have really carried out under CLM should just die like that? So I'm asking myself as a department, I'm mandated to ensure sustainability. That's why I told Udha and Busoga that please embrace working with existing structures. Because this is now the way to go. Work, create synergies between the existing structures. Because you go, but we have the mandate to carry forth these good interventions that you have said. So that's why you see I'm also bringing slowly by slowly the CEOs on board. I'm also seeing how these community CLM monitors can remain in the system, maybe as far as social workers. Okay, because their project is timeline, it has an end, it has a start and an end. So if we can also see how we can bring these people on board, like I'm borrowing the approach of the Chief Executive Officer in terms of Murapi. Because every day we are seeing people are threatening Murapi is what is going. They had critical staff that were helping the DHO to handle that workload. So I was like, why can't we absorb these Murapi people if the project is done, if the resources are done? Why can't we absorb these people into the mainstream? So I'm like, also, why don't we really absorb these volunteers, the community monitors, into the mainstream of government? Because there is a lot of work that actually should be done. So as a department, accessibility, because if we is seeing how we improve access to the utilization of health services. And one of the challenges that is challenging me is the issue of accessibility. This one I will repeat, accessibility. So through our accessibility audit, we are realizing that one of the barriers for health service utilization is the issue of accessibility. And when we talk of accessibility, it's not only to people with disabilities. People make other conclusions. But we have gone far to say it is beyond the PW issue, but also the pregnant women. Even you who is not PWD, you really deserve this barrier-free environment. You are talking of the cycle, long waiting hours. But the PW comes, the wheelchair cannot enter the doctor's room. And it remains there at the mass of well-wisher. You go to the laboratory, you climb 5 steps, 8 steps to reach the laboratory. And that is already a barrier. So we are looking at the council halls, where the councils have people with PW representatives. And how are they structured? Because these barriers impede these vulnerable people from really accessing these services. So we are going really to advocate this and ensure that this CLM can really flourish in the aspect of continuity, because I know one day these Udha and community volunteers will actually be no more because of the funding and the project guidelines. Then lastly, we should do this different
system, and at the back end you can generate accountability reports for you to know the numbers. But also it is helping us to be able to monitor individual performance of health workers. Because at the back end you can know who has done what and who hasn't done what. So there is efficiency, but also when it comes to issues of accountability of drugs, it is a little easier than it was before in the manual. The biggest challenge with the electronic medical systems is around capacity of health workers. And not every health worker knows a computer, not every health worker has the capacity to be able to manipulate the system. But we also have challenges with the internet connectivity. Yes, the downtown of the system. So there are still some challenges, but if they can be worked on, I need to say that electronic or e-systems is the way to go. It's the way to go because it improves efficiency, but it also ensures that the system is accountable to the people that it serves.
Who are you involving the VHTs, the CHUs in CLM?
So first of all, I need to mention, and I think we deserve a hand clap on this, Ukraine has one of the best VHT systems. So we actually have accolades to that. We have very committed VHTs that are reporting itches timely. These people are following through their structure. They have VHT coordinators that routinely gather them for meetings, but they are also present in health facilities to try and help out. They are present in the community to try and support in health education, sensitization, and all those things. So the VHT's presence in the facility and the community is very critical because it bridges the communication. We get to know what is it that has to be improved for community satisfaction. So that has come in handy. The CHUs are still under training, but we also think that when they're deployed finally, there will be a very big resource. And I actually want to add something that you did ask my colleague in that regard. The issue of using other people to deliver services and task shifting and task sharing, it's one of the things that I support. We have a whole policy on task shifting and task sharing that went through a whole approval system. We need to appreciate the fact that this country is still losing children to very preventable conditions, issues like malaria, issues like pneumonia and diarrhea that can be treated by the VHTs and the CHUs if empowered. So we need to make sure that the community systems are empowered to handle very simple conditions, malaria and pneumonia really. Should we be still losing children to malaria? Yet a VHT can be able to give out coated. So I think what has to be done is to ensure that the capacity that is built in these people is checked all the time. Ensure that we use the right teaching modalities, but routinely check and see if they are doing the right things in order to ensure quality assurance. That will ensure that they deliver the right thing. When you look at this country, the unmet need to family planning is still so high. The modern contraceptive prevalence rate is very low. Yet we have community systems, VHTs and CHUs, who can offer family planning. In the CHUs training, we're even teaching them to insert implants. So if task shifting and task sharing are done well, then they can improve majority of the medical indices in this country.
Members, join me appreciate this panel for the work well done. So at this point in time, I think it's lunchtime. And that was good.
All right, thank you so much. Let's please take both hands together for this panel. Also, let's put hands together for you, the participants. So at this time, I want us to break for 30 minutes.
Members, I first introduce my name. I'm Namsirumbi Deborah from Namaimo, and especially I come from one of the health facilities, Health Center 3, and closely maybe to Health Center 2. Allow me to talk about what was there before CLM and after CLM was coming. First of all, I'm the first beneficiary before CLM came. And let me talk about myself, because I've gone under such experiences all through and the facilities before CLM. It was not easy. Our services have not been there as expected before CLM. I one time went in my facility for delivery,
And as this, I'm talking about hygiene. Before CLM, hygiene was very poor in facilities. All the facilities, maybe in all Namaingo districts, hygiene was not up to date. And at my facility, one time I went to give birth. All the shelters were very dirty, the compound, even the labor suit. And indeed, after delivery, I was immediately forced to go home because I found I could not be there anymore. And it has not happened to me alone. It has been ever there. Hygiene has been a problem before CLM. But when CLM came in, there is a great improvement in most facilities. And as you go now, at least the shelters are up to date, the compounds are clean, pits are available, the facilities. So I'm very grateful with CLM for coming. It has helped us. And mostly more mothers were fearing because of the same issue. A mother goes to deliver. After delivery, there is no shower because of the shelters, a lot of crabs, stagnant blood, and so on, as you know. So a mother is forced to go home for more care. Secondly, allow me to talk about harassment and discrimination before CLM. The fact is that our health workers have been so harassed at the facilities, as such that patients will even fear to go for the services because of the harassments and the discriminations by the health workers, asking us whether we are the ones who educated them in order to become nurses as professions. So as we, the communities, we felt sorry, and mostly we could abide from going for the services at the facilities. We would prefer drug shops. And if in case the matter is worse, they refer us to the health center 4. When we reach the 4, matters worse, they refer us to the neighboring hospitals. Like in Namaingo, we have Masafu Hospital and Bugiri for more services. It was just because of harassment and discriminations of health workers at the facilities. But when the CLM came in, it helped us. And now we are really happy and we are receiving the services as possible and as we could. Allow me to talk more. I'll not waste time. Allow me to talk about the long waiting, although it has been spoken earlier, but let me repeat because I'm the first one from the grassroots who is receiving the services. This issue has just, I don't know how I should say it out, but it is a continuous issue, ever on, not off. It has, I'm very sure even the DHO cannot manage it. Because whenever the issue is worked upon, you go, you still find the issue is still there. There is long waiting and early going of staffs. Most especially on the side of laboratories is where we get difficulties. Maybe in other departments, services can be earlier delivered, but when you are sent in the lab, you find that the lab technician is only one person, comes late, so we take time to get the services or reports back to the health, to the clinical officer or the in charge. So this has made services take time. Patients take time at the facilities, and it has made clients in the communities there to also give up for the services at the facilities, because a patient comes at 8 and is leaving home at 6. So he or she prefers for the drug shop than the facility. But when the CLM came in, it has helped us much. The CLMS has helped us in this way, that it has approached even the DHO's offices, in fact, for making him aware of what is happening in his districts and why such cases are continuing or increasing, why services are not good to the communities. Another thing I appreciate CLM, it has not stopped there alone. It has gone far as in communities down there, talking to communities not to depend alone on health facilities or not always committing health workers to be wrong people, more especially about hygiene. It has gone far as more introducing to them the uses of mosquito nets. You know, down there in our communities, these nets were given, but then communities use them for catching white ants and keeping these chickens, they make a gate for them. But it has gone down there to the communities and has talked to the communities the use of good hygiene, how to protect ourselves against malaria. And I'm very sure, like at my facility, in my community, it is rarely having malaria cases. We have now understood. CLM has helped us to know that hygiene is the one making us fall sick off and on. More especially children, like worms, malaria, getting diarrhea, especially like us from our facility whereby the lakesides. It has taught the community how to use water. We normally get water from the lake direct to drink, but it has helped us to know what good or bad is. What good or bad is when you take lake water without boiling it. So CLMS has helped us much to achieve good health, and more especially in my facility, I'm rarely getting cases of malaria, diarrhea, and when I go as monitoring, I find in my many cases coming from different areas. As said before, Namaingo district is serving a large number of people, more especially coming from my neighboring country, Kenya and Tanzania. So most people, okay, let me talk about the last issue only, is about extraction of money. This issue was so tedious and had made us, we the people getting the services, so fearful to go for the services. Because especially in the case of delivery, when you go to a health center to deliver, there is charges. When you deliver a baby girl, that is 25,000. A baby boy is 15,000. And you give it out in force. Without giving it out, they don't give you a card of the child. This was before CLM. Or else, like when you go and they find that you can take time to deliver from there, they send you to a health center for where there is this operation, there is a theater. When you reach at the theater, the doctors concerned to work upon you will need money. If you don't give them money, my dear, there is no services. So when the CLM came in, at least we are very happy. There are no services, there is no money, there is no asking of money unless in a hidden way or manner. So we give thanks for CLM. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you very much. We have listened in from Namaingo, and she has shared her experience. We would like to listen from the next district. You have strictly 5 minutes, and feel free not to repeat what the other person has presented. If you're not comfortable with English, you can also use the language that you are comfortable. You will find somebody to translate.
Yes, nze mu gundi yange sirinamu buzibu bwonna kuba nfuniddemu emirembe. Abasawo bange banswevinga bulungi kuba mu kutandikwa natandika kati kukweza emyaka 2 nga nkolagana nabo, naye sirina bubi bwonna bwe nali nfunyemu. Bansomesa bulungi ne bangamba woozaala omwana agenda kubeera bulungi, kuba kati nazaala omwana wange kati myezi 2 byafulumanga birungi. Abasawo bange bankwata bulungi, sibafunyeemu buzibu. Yes.
Thank you very much for that experience. The next district, Ogena Buzungu, Busoga. Okay, feel free. For those that did not get to Uganda, I think we shall wrap up so that our commission also picks it. He stays now in Uganda and he hears a lot of this Uganda now.
Ngenza okwogera ku nsonga nga 3 esooka mbaire ndisaba Ministry of Health etuyambe ku tutere pumps oba traffic lights awo era kavule motoka litutomereyo nga tulijjo okufuna eddagala kuliyezera mu ddwaliro ekyo tutukonsizeeyo ng'abantu ega. N'ekindi abakozi bati, for example abandi tujaba mantineto osobola okujja ssaawa nga 2 ofaayo ssaawa 9 nga muli over 100 women aye nga abasawo abali bakolako bali 2 bokka. Endala y'abaluma abandi bafuna obulwaire bwotandifunye, so tusaba ku nsonga eyo. Then ensonga eyindi antuweereze mwami Techo yakuwa security ku ddwaliro. Abayiri bangi bwe tuba admitted batwiba amasimu, bayiba obukozi bw'abaana, amasuuka, abantu abayira otubona abayiba obugaali biki. So tusaba okole ku nsonga ya security eyo. Wano mu kusiima mu Techo tweyaza katisaawe n'eddwaliro ndi mu megaphones batukoba nti sabiseere titusasula kintu kyona kyona adresi nga kisaawe n'eddwaliro ng'eddagala Techo. Thank you very much.
Okay, service recipient available, you can. English, okay. So you have had all these experiences that your colleagues have shared, apart from the one from Namayingo, who was able to tell us what the situation was and what the situation is now. In your experience in Mayuge, what do you think are some of the challenges that are still there, even when CLM has come on board?
Hello everyone. My name is Auntie Masiri. I'm going to first thank CLM because we have listened to the fact that we should not only have the lamentations, but the actions as well, or the acts as well. So I'm going to talk about the things that were there before and currently aren't there. So to begin with, I'll talk about the fact that there was absenteeism of nurses or of health workers. So you would go there, imagine you move a very long distance, you go to the health facility and there is no one to, attend to you. it would really frustrate. So I thank CLM for the fact that it has kept on reducing till date. At least nowadays, there are people who can attend to you on time. Then my second point is about the waiting time. So previously, there was a lot of long waiting hours where you wait so much and you get frustrated. And indeed there was no health worker to work on you. You be there, you wait. But at this moment, the facilities have been, they have increased on the services, so we don't really take long hours waiting for the medical personnel to come. Then there is also the fact that before, health workers were harsh, like very harsh. I mean, at some point you would ask the nurse that, for example, what's this medicine that I'm being given? And they would respond to you in a very rude way. But apparently, they are a little bit kind. I mean, you can ask them anything and they are willing to give you a proper response rather than, backing at you or telling you, that why are you asking about this or that. So it has put up that relationship between us and the health workers, and has made the bond stronger than before. And besides that, we have also been told about our rights. So previously, we didn't know that we had a right to medication. But we have been told our rights, and also we have been told our responsibility that even when we have a right to receive medical attention, we as the community also have a responsibility to play. I mean, I cannot be at my home and I'm seated and I'm saying that I have a right to medicine, and yet I'm not going to the health facility to receive the medication. It does not make sense. So we have been told our rights, and we have also been told that we have been told of where to get what. Before this, we did not know what services are to be received in a health center 2 or health center 3, but apparently we are knowledgeable about the same. Thank you for listening.
Wow, let us give them a round of applause.
Allow me, my boss, to thank my DHO, Namaingo District. DHO, I thank you so much for permitting CLM in your district. It has helped us so much. Namaingo at large. Thank you so much. I ask you kindly not to maybe be annoyed with CLMS, thinking maybe they have brought you above your bosses and so on. But actually we are trying to report out to your bosses certain issues that have become so stubborn, and maybe you have tried to manage them but they have become stagnant and also so stubborn. Like issues of late coming and long waiting. My dear, you have tried so much, but your workers have tried to ignore you. So I think when your bosses hear over this, they will help you to overcome this situation. Thank you so much.
I think it has been a very interesting session, isn't it? And inside me I was saying, what a session, especially after lunch. Let us appreciate them. They have brought out what it was. They have also given us what it is. And from me, I see that there are so many positives, although a few other things are still sticking there. One of them is putting hubs at Nakavule. I don't know whether the Ministry of Health will work with the Ministry of Works and see how to overcome that. The others, I think there are issues that are within our control that we can be able to address. Issues to do with security at the health unit. That's something that we can always address. While others report good attendance, there are also some where people are still not keeping to their schedules, absenteeism. Unless there is a response for this team, personally I would like to appreciate them for having brought out their experience, especially as recipients of care. I beg to be how to proceed. Jackson.
Thank you so much, moderator and the panelists. You've done it all. Thank you so much, and thanks for representing the voices of this. We can as well allow them to go and sit, and we have comments after. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming. And when we call you again, please endeavor to come. So I would love to have the comments after this second panel has been able to present to us. Then we can crown it all as we conclude. So allow me to hand over to the last panel. We shall not have a panel like. I know he will guide accordingly, but let me hand over to Hood and he take the proceeding.
Hello and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Are we still here? Yes. Okay, that is very, very encouraging. We thank you for being with us up to this very time. Thanks for the resilience, but also for the honest discussions, most especially the previous panelists, but also the chairs of the respective sessions. Ladies and gentlemen, at this moment in time, it is very, very important that we speak to the district leadership. There are quite a number of issues that need to be spoken about at that level in terms of accountability, in terms of coordination, in terms of resource allocation. Can we also have a conversation on sustainability? And who else to lead us in these discussions apart from our dear Chief Administrative Officers? And I want to take this opportunity to invite the cow of Busoga first, please, to take up the podium. Can we have a round of applause? And as he is heading to the podium, it's also very, very important that there are quite a lot of issues that came out from the discussions, most especially relating to Busoga as a district. Some were very pleasing, others need further clarity. And as a cow, we would want to hear something from you with regards to the overall leadership in strengthening accountability for health service delivery. What are the actions that you are picking up from here? Given the fact that we are seeing a little bit of disconnect from the people that are collecting the data and the people that are responsible for validating this data. Quite a big elephant in the room. So Banakau, you are welcome to give us your remarks, but also commitments as we move forward from this engagement. Thank you, Anna.
Thank you very much.
Once again, I'm Busoga, the Chief Administrative Officer of the District Government. Our commission and organizers, we are really very grateful for this engagement. And what you realize that community-led monitoring is in line with our Vision 2040, which looks at ensuring that we can transform our people from peasantry to middle income status. And it is community-led. That is why when you look at the vision of the health sector, is to ensure that we have a healthy, productive operation that can contribute directly to the social economic empowerment of our people. Ladies and gentlemen, the Chief Administrative Officer, the technical head, now within my performance indicators, we have what we call a balanced scorecard, which I'm assisted on. Even the DHO is assisted on that, the engineer and the DDO and everybody, up to the teacher, up to the nurse. What happens, the key performance indicators under the Human Capital Management System, HCM, those key issues are coming, and I'm very happy. I think it was the DHO who pointed out that the targets which we have must have a reflection of the satisfaction of the recipient of the service. That is the client charter. It is one of the issues we look at. So, today, we are looking at, we have pointed out a number of issues. I'm very grateful my commissioner is here. Commissioner, when we had a panel of the DHOs here, apart from the one of Busoga, the rest were acting. And you remember my minister has made a pronunciation that the acting is ending when? You are following. Now, Mr. Commissioner, any tax, we want to end that, but the issue we have is the wage. The wage. As a ministry liaising with the public service and the Ministry of Finance, and we get a wage. The presenter from Buvuma pointed out a very important issue, and he said that we don't have a dental specialist. Commissioner, it is wage. But the challenge I have is a wage, because institutions are producing this people. And it is also in other areas. Two, when I look at the new staffing structure, in Buvuma I'm supposed to have 21 medical officers. I have 1, 2, 3. Now, the same thing to the nursing cadre. I was very grateful when the presenter, the service recipient from Namayingo pointed out issues. True, there is some absenteeism, but at some time you can sympathize with these health workers. At one time, we had our medical officers, they had an operation of 5 women. They were delivering. And you know now, even the nurses were like that. You couldn't expect them, after spending the night not sleeping, to still continue with the what? Doing the day. Because the way even they make a duty roster of health workers, there are some offs. Somebody says, no, you are off now. You are off now. Commissioner, I'd like to thank you. Government has tried to improve the infrastructure in the health sector. We have tried to upgrade the facilities from health center to field across board. Across board. We have really tried. Thank you. Thank you. Now, what we want, the message you can convey to our peers. The issue now, yesterday I listened to her and I was very happy the way she was pointing out issues. This subject, people who are receiving our services, they were not very much different from these findings. Health workers, we must wake up. Government has changed. Even the people we are giving services, they have changed. And remember our vision. Maybe I think we must do the way Udha is doing. When we are having health-related issues, actually even with our partners, that vision and mission is very, very important. People must know that what we are looking at now is to make our people what? Healthy. Once they are healthy, everything will happen. Because you realize that the health sector is supporting all sectors. If our people, if somebody is sick, chronically sick, and you give him more happy job money, that money will never work, will not multiply. Somebody will lose even hope. Will not use that what? That money. And yet, under the human capital management, we are looking at a person in totality. That is why I was very grateful to one of the ladies here who pointed out she has given birth to a child. A child is not in a health facility. That child, I know, was immunized, how we immunize people. And we are looking at that child, we are waiting for that child. After 4-5 years, we want to take that child now to another level, to a school. Because health and education and HCL, they work together. When we take that child in the school, we are taking that child to ensure that that child can learn to know, can learn to understand, can learn to earn a living, and can learn to be a doctor. You see the cycle? That is the vision 2040. The child produced in the safe hands is here. The health workers take care of him or her, grows, goes to school, goes to start learning, to enjoy, first of all, to know, to just see what that child grows and development. Then he learns also to know that this is ABCD. Learns to understand that I can write my name. Learns to be that now I'm a teacher, I'm a doctor, I'm a farmer, I'm an engineer, is the sustainability what we are looking at. So all of us must have that shared vision. And that is why when we are having the assessment, we are looking at all those issues. In totality, what are the past rates? How many health workers are there? How are you handling the patients? Government is awarding marks. So the community-led management, monitoring, means a lot for us. Because everything we are doing must be people-centered. Everything we are doing is people-centered. And it must be institutionalized. That is why, under this program, Udha, we need to see that we can continue empowering our health management committees. Also in the past, on Tuesday we are going to have elections of LC1 chairpersons, local councils. The YC, we are ready to get 90% new people. You had, I'm not predicting, but what I see, what we have in our councils now, I see that 90% of the people who came are new. And you know, these are people who have not been what? Empowered. So, as the program, within the programs we are doing, let us also put on board the local council, chairpersons and the committees. Two, when you look at our VHTs, for me I refer to it as our health center one. Health center one is our VHT. I'm very grateful to our people here of CCM. He pointed out an issue from Professor Omaso. I have a lot with Professor Omaso because Professor Omaso has really done a lot in the promotion of health services. He has, at one time, in the early 90s, because the Heart Institute was not even yet there. He's the one who pioneered bringing the Heart Institute. But he promoted health living among the institutions and the schools and what people stopping alcohol, stopping smoking, and all of this has done a lot of issue. But the issue is the organized health is made in what? In a home and in a community. That is when you can have sustainability. And who are the people in the community? They are our people. I'm very grateful to my champion Kasilibu here. Kasilibu Skara. Because now, the other DC had promised me, Kasilibu here, we presented him to get a medal. Kasilibu here. Because he has stood up to be a champion against stigma and discrimination. He's living in a very challenging community that when somebody says that I don't want myself, it doesn't take a second. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very, very much, Commissioner, for those inspiring, interesting, also guidance that comes timely at this moment when we just go through the announcements that we have dialogue findings and trying to follow up then with advocacy for these findings, but also as we push into semester 4. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to take this opportunity once again to have the CCM comment their remarks, but also speak to us as we tend towards the conclusion of this semester 3 regional And let's be very, very patient, but also let's give them ears because they are here for us, and we have to be with them. Thank you.
Everybody's looking at me with very pathetic eyes. I understand. Just want to sincerely appreciate all of you, the Commissioner, Minister of Health, my bosses at the district level, that is the cows, DHOs, directors of different civil society organizations present, Udha as the convening organization, in terms of being our PR2. I want to take this singular honor on behalf of the CCM board and on behalf of my colleague who is present here today to sincerely appreciate you for being patient the whole day. You can clap for yourself. I'm sorry that I'm making even the cows to clap because people always clap for them. And I'm making you to clap, so you will understand. they clap for them all the time. As we wind up, we have very critical issues that have been mentioned. Why I carried this book here was just to scare you so that I knew now you are saying he was carrying the whole book by the time he finishes reading it. It will be too late. So as usual, I'm calling Mzee Chemuko. As my colleague introduced me this morning, I'm one of the oldest guys in this country. And I think Commission is about to retire, but me I retired in 2016. From local government or Minister of Health 2016. So now you can imagine, am I not very old? So as we make our closing remarks, I wanted you just to take the following as key critical issues that we've observed as CCM board for this engagement today. One is we want to appreciate that all of you have already been prepared for change. Because this is Isanja, no corruption, no what, no sleep. So I appreciate that there is already that slogan moving around, and that is a signal that we are committed to making impact in our communities. One, we want to ensure that there is universal health care coverage. That's the new shift for the entire system on health care, and we make sure that access, quality, financial risk, and other necessary governance issues are put into consideration at all levels. Number two, we are building on the old system model that is called primary health care. And primary health care, you people, you've been aware about the pillars that are associated to making primary health care functional, that is PHC, where most of you know that most of these indicators determine the amount of PHC money they're supposed to receive at your facility. So this may require us as health unit teams, district health teams, to work tirelessly together to ensure that we have the necessary resources that can meet the real needs of our communities. I thank the cow for eagerly said, for them integration is not an issue. But when you get to the district, you may discover that integration is by word of mouth. because each person is dying for his vote. Isn't it? Malaria for a person, it's like a budget. I don't want. HIV, don't cross there. Agriculture production, that's the fuel for the cow and the chairman and my other diseases. You understand? These things are very critical. Is it not true, cow? Okay. We appreciate it. But we understand the circumstances under which you work through. So integration should be the reality. That through your TPC, we need also the civil society to be one of the members of your TPC when you are discussing. So at the district level, agree and say out of the many civil societies we have in this district, let them be mobilized, select 1 or 2 leaders to be representing them on that, so that we are able to really see that CLM results are going to make impact and they will be sustainable. Remember, we have what we call health financing. Health financing, colleagues from the donor communities, is being cut every day. It's reducing every minute. This grant that we are implementing now, we were given to a tune of 700 million USD from Global Fund. At this time, we only have around $600 million. That is a reduction of 100 million cut. So this is a sign that we need to understand the critical issues that are associated with financing and the financial risks associated. But there is hope. I like the way our former Minister of Finance, he was called Matia Kasai. He will tell you money is coming. Okay? And so I want to assure that as we look forward for our oil, they assured us that by the end of this year, we shall begin what? Enjoying the proceeds of our oil as a country. So we shall, I think, mitigate some of those anomalies. This, as we've said already, all should be embedded in community-led monitoring model. Finally, I heard about the issue of gold. Gold, is it in Namaingo? Namaingo, even the Busoga. And also for us in Guru, Moroto and other places. Some of these resources are being reorganized by the central government. And we have hope that when these resources are reorganized, we are going to have our own resources that will contribute to our setup, and hence our communities will enjoy the process. So I want to say that change starts with us, and the change is sustained by us. And for those reasons, I want to appreciate Udha. Yesterday I was asked whether Tasso will be handling the other details. Tasso is going to release what we call RFA for the sub-recipients. They have already gone through the approval systems up to the Global Fund. You know, so the Global Fund goes transparent. It must be what? Transparent. So it has received the final approval from Geneva. And we hope by end of this month or beginning of next month, there will be an RFA out for calling for somewhat recipients. Are we together? So we believe Udha has a building capacity of several of you. Don't fail to attend. Okay? Apply for the money so that you become also a sub-recipient. So Udha, you have so many competitors now because you build their capacity. So pull up your sweats and we are going to get there together. So thank you so much. And as CCM World, we are committed. I've already told you we have around 600 million USD coming in the country by January next year. And we want to leverage on what you've done this year for continuity, but we are all counting on you. And so we give you, put it into proper what? Use. And once you do that, God will bless all of us. Also, God will bless all of us, and we shall reduce the visit of our colleague, the Minister of Local Government. We will not visit you so many times. Okay? I want to say thank you so much, and on behalf of my colleagues and all of you, I want to, and the powers entrusted on me, to declare this meeting closed.
Right, thank you so much. The meeting has been mentioned.